So, hello, everybody. We're back today with David Steinberg of Foureyes. I'm pretty excited about this one because Foureyes has done some pretty amazing things recently. And on top of that, we've had Dave on before, and Dave is always a great guest. He's got quite the background for showmanship, and he has yet to disappoint. So we're putting the pressure on, setting the bar
Oh
high.
yeah.
But I know
Well,
he
I
can
think I
take it.
think our plan the goal is always to inform and entertain. So I think the and is doing a lot of work there.
Good. Well, Dave, let's dive into where Foureyes is now, because last we talked, you were in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like I've always been a technologist. I love to build stuff, and I think that as we so much of what Four Eyes was built on when we got into sales enablement in the beginning, we were like the first company in sales enablement, and I thought that was because nobody else saw what a need sales enablement was. Sales enablement was a huge category outside of automotive, and inside automotive it was crickets. And then when we got into it, we realized, oh, it's because in order to do sales enablement, you need really good access to the underlying data. And there's a huge access problem in automotive. You can't get the data. So we built so many systems just to get access. And those systems, it became a point where it was like the brain, where you're like, I have all of this data, but I'm only using a tiny bit of it for these sales enablement applications. And that's what really gave way to saying, okay, wait a second, the world's moving, the technology is shifting beneath our feet. How do we use what we know about getting access to all of this data and organizing it and cleaning it to really help accelerate dealers in a way that allows them to be the builder, right? It's like it's such an exciting time. There's so much you can do, so much with technology now, with AI and Claude Code and building stuff. But the challenge in automotive is that you don't have the access to your own data to be able to get that done. So there's like a data platform problem. You can't get the data in order to really start building. And what we're seeing a lot in a lot of dealer groups is that they live in what we call collect and connect hell, where they're trying to build with their data, but just getting the piping and setting it up so the data's flowing in consistently and cleanly and organized, and they can really build on top of it. That becomes a problem in itself. I mean, that's a $15 million problem. We've spent over $15 million building better piping and management of just the data to get DMS, website, inventory, phone calls, CRM, and now we in our new system we have the ability to import data we haven't even seen before and join that on the customer record, make it super buildable so you can build on top of that. You can sort by it, you can organize by it, you can basically do all the things that AI promises you that you can do. Right now dealers are locked because they just don't have the access. They can't even get they can't really get to step one, and they get to paint by numbers technology where it's like, look, we can do a little bit for you. You're not going to compete in the modern world with that setup. And I do think that like there is this original sin in automotive, which is that in 2015, 2016, 2017, when big data was the thing, which was the precursor to what we're in now, which was, hey, start collecting all your data. The whole industry, NADA 2016 was big data everywhere. All of technology was talking about big data. People could see things that I couldn't see, which is that, hey, if you just collect it, it's going to become super valuable. If you can collect it and clean it and organize it, it's going to become super valuable. Every industry had their legacy software. Every industry had their version of CDK and Reynolds that they had to pull data out of. But only two industries got shut down in 2017 from getting that data, and that was healthcare and automotive. Authenticom, when the Authenticom lawsuit happened in 2017, that scared every data plumber out of automotive. Every private equity company, everybody who was doing anything regarding data plumbing said automotive is not a business we want to be in. It's too litigious. It's too problematic. We don't want to be there. Healthcare had the exact same thing happen. Now you fast forward to AI.
Healthcare.
Yeah, you fast forward now, and you have the same problems in healthcare that you actually have in automotive. It doesn't have good data flow. There's a lot of these weird moments where the customer is like, why am I repeating myself all the time? Why aren't you storing this information better? Why this process feels really clunky? And it all started from this fork in the road in 2017, when automotive essentially told the rest of the world, we want to be like North Korea, and we want to lock down our data, and we're going to let these big data companies hold our data hostage, and we're just going to say that's just the way it is. And so now, as AI has come, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Working in automotive, I mean, I lived with the Amish when I was 26 for 3 weeks. It's like walking in Amish country. I feel I'm I'm getting deja vu over here. So like it, but at the end of the day, it's about opening up getting access to all your data. Dealers own their data. There's been 8 states that have codified that dealers own their data. The CRMs and DMSs, they know you own the data. They just try to redefine what ownership is, right? And like when I say like access is the thing that, you know, everybody inherently understands, like AI wants access to all of the data. They also want it clean and organized. Like AI doesn't do super well with unorganized data, because every question, it's a lapdog. It wants to please you. So every question you ask, if it has to go and spend 20,000 tokens just to clean up your data to do it, it tries not to do that work.
And
That's
then it looks
inefficient.
lazy.
Yeah, and you go, why? Oh, this AI is just always wrong. It's like, no, the AI just doesn't want to clean the room. It wants to answer your question like a golden retriever.
Well, can I add on to what you're saying
Yeah.
here? Because it's not just the walled gardens that we have in the automotive industry, which is that term that people have thrown around forever. It's also the platforms themselves. So take DMS; they're the easiest ones to point the finger at. You know, they're ancient, and they were built in what I like to think of as silos. So you have a silo for parts, you have a silo for service, you have a silo for F&I, and they're not talking to one another.
Well, and and one of the things is that that doesn't necessarily need to be the fault or problem of the DMS. The sin of the DMS isn't that they're not talking to each other. It's that they make it hard to get the data out so that you can solve that problem.
Or
They make it
expensive to get the
hard
data out.
and they make it expensive. And that is the problem. Like it's every company, every industry has legacy software that doesn't do a good job talking to other software. There are so many solutions now to solve that problem. It's getting the pipe out and having that data piped out. And that's where I think that Foureyes has become uniquely influential and qualified to be. We actually have built the piping to say, okay, enough is enough. We're going to build the piping. We're going to set this up. This is the dealer's data. We're going to set up a data infrastructure. The new APIs we have coming out that are really builders APIs that you connect your Claude or your ChatGPT or your Microsoft Copilot to, and it's all trained on how to work with it. It's incredible. It's super accelerative. You can all of a sudden answer those questions that you couldn't even answer before. You can build those things correctly. Like, you know, when we looked at, everyone looks at, like, we're doing a lot of work with consent because we saw a problem that there's 9 vendors talking to the same consumer, which I don't like. My take on automotive is like, that problem's only going to get, there's benefits in being able to choose 9 different vendors who can do things. Like, so a lot of people are like, well, we'll just have one vendor. It's like, well, you have one vendor, you're going to get yourself in another CDK and Reynolds situation. The 9 vendors allows you to choose the best things, but what you don't have is a platform that allows those 9 vendors to work off the same playbook. And so what's happening is you have 9 vendors talking to the consumer, and I'm saying, hey, Alex, you want to come in for an appointment? Next one, hey, Alex doesn't realize you just scheduled an appointment. You want to come in for an appointment? All of a sudden, you look like really unorganized, really strange. Alarm bells start going off in the heads of the consumer, and your close rate drops. And it just is kind of a bad scene. It feels antiquated. But that's all because those 9 vendors there's no system where they're actually talking to each other. And so what we did is we put in a consent layer that allows to share opt-outs, share messaging, share consent. And what that allows the dealer then to do, and I don't know if you guys have experienced this, have you guys had dealers on where they talk about like building like communication tools? Have you had any dealers who built communication tools?
We definitely have had that conversation. Yes.
So like a lot of dealers, when they try to build their own communication tools, which now you can easily, the problem you have is you can't you go, oh shoot, I'm stepping on the toes of my other 9 vendors. And so because you're like, well, I hired this vendor, I loved what their tool did, and I just found out they're also communicating. Oh, they're also communicating. So like what we've done with our communication APIs is allow you to tap into that intel, so you're not over communicating. So you can use the lever. So I can use the fact if I'm using a vendor who's doing really good communication, I can use the intel, the data that you. So if Trade Pending reaches out to you and has a conversation with you about your trade-in, that if I'm the dealer, I can then use that information in my follow-up communication to them, so it's not a bad scene. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm talking about like some of the new stuff we have coming out that I haven't practiced talking about. I'm just testing it right now, and it's awesome. I'm like really excited about it. But the so yeah, I think it's
it
like,
makes total sense, and it's so needed.
Well, yeah, and I think like when we looked at in our like audience, like I'll speak as a technologist for a second. When we looked at, we have an audience builder. Everybody you have to be able to build an audience and say, okay, I want to take an audience, and we have all these new fields that calculate mileage and calculate values, and you can set up calculations so that you can then build an audience based off all this. So everyone who's building audiences right now has experienced the next thing. Okay, I've got this wonderful audience. Now I want to go message them. And then you're like, oh shoot, but I don't want to message the people in this audience that are in CRM sales pending. I don't want to message these people. I have all these new rules on top of this big audience I've built where I want to, and they get like paralysis. They're like, oh shoot. And I don't know if anyone's opted out recently. And I don't know this. I don't want to get my dealership in trouble. And so that what happens in order to manage that, they end up having to create like a bunch of tiny little audiences and do all this work. And all of a sudden they're doing like a ton of work to just get a message out. What we built is what we call a suppressions API that says, okay, you can take the audience, you can say right before it sends out, what are the rules I want it to go through and kick out anybody who meets any of these qualifications and rules. So I can work with that same large audience without having the problem of having to create a million different small audiences in order to like go do it. That's a real problem we've seen when people have done like audience building, audience work. They just can't leverage them because the big audiences are too like unwieldy. And so we built the suppressions API. It allows you really, it's all about control. It's all about making it easy to have control and not trip over your feet.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys some of the new shit we have coming out. So I don't, again, I haven't practiced any of the new stuff. Matt, my marketing guy's on the probably behind the scenes going, oh, Dave, we haven't talked about you talking about the new suppression systems, but it's awesome. It's really cool. I mean, it solves a real problem.
If you hadn't said anything about it being new and you hadn't talked about it before, I never would have known.
Great.
Nope.
So,
Great.
Tell marketing you're doing a good job.
Like, what are you guys seeing? I mean, talk to me about like your call. You know, I'm open to the conversation. Like, you guys obviously, you know, Jeff, you're in the dealer space, right? Like, how is your world looking?
I was on vacation for a week, so I'm still trying to focus back in. But in reference to, I mean, it's all a mess right now.
Well, Jeff, you've been wanting to utilize. So Jeff recently subscribed to Perplexity and is using the compute function. And he's like, what vendors do I have access to be able to like point this at and use an MCP and be able to do some stuff with this cool AI? And he's lacking over there for that.
Well, Jeff, like that's a perfect use case. So like with our platform now, and we can set you up where we pipe in all of the data, clean it all organized, and then give you the MCP connector to connect it to Perplexity. So, and not only that, we have it. We release what's called a schematic layer that gives the MCP all of the language and training on how to query the data, so that you can. So basically, I mean that's a perfect use case. So very quickly, you then can go, okay, now I can set up the connector to Perplexity, ask it questions, and it's working off of clean CRM, website, DMS, inventory, call data, and it's bring in additional data. We do all that through let me demystify everything. I always think that like technology guys, if we talk too complicated, people are like, what are they saying? So underneath the hood, the way we do that is we take all of that and we clean it all up and we put it into your own partition Snowflake account. And we run it for you, but you can take it over and access it, and it can be yours, where we have no ownership over it. So some clients have it set up where we ship into their own Snowflake account. We don't even have access to it. They just grab from the system. But if you're like, I don't know Snowflake, I don't know, we set it all up for you and get it all organized for you. The piece where now the world needs to be a little careful, and now like owners are starting to freak out, is there's tokens and compute cost. So we put in place, part of what we put in place too is like a cost warehouse, like cost monitoring, so that we can help you monitor and control and set the rules so it doesn't just go crazy. Because nice. We have had, I don't know if you guys have had any of the dealers on who've gone like, oh my God, I just got a $30,000 bill last month.
They set it all up with APIs, huh?
Yeah, so like you do well, and what that is a lot of times is like that can be like a rogue employee setting up like a Claude cowork with like to do something super inefficient and repetitive. That's like whoa, that wasn't the way to do it. So the cost warehouse allows you to manage that and not. Again, it's all about like giving people the tools to play without tripping over their feet in the ways that people are doing it. But you right now, so your Perplexity example is a perfect example. You're like, okay, I'm sitting with Perplexity, but I'm trying to connect it to my CRM. I'm trying to connect it to my DMS. You can't get there from here. And the challenge is, even if you did, let's say you figured that out, you still it has to do all the clean and organization and identity resolution and all that work in the middle, that every single question you ask, it's got to get that right. And so you end up in this space where you're like, I asked it these questions, it just doesn't get enough right. That's where, like, again, like when I say we pipe and clean and organize all the data, we bring it all in and structure it and organize it in such a way that you can do that without using all that millions of dollars in tokens in order to do that with every question.
That's great.
Yeah, we're knowing what port to pull from on your CDK.
Oh yeah, I mean,
or Foureyes having some sort of connection through that too. Like that's in Jeff's case, that is.
And the challenge too, I think that we always say like the biggest curse, and automotive is ripe with this in access, is partial data. Because partial data always makes you think you're getting something, right? If you're a plumber and you turn on the water and you see water flowing through the pipe, you're like, yeah, the pipe's working. There's water flowing through the pipe. Mm-hmm. But what you have to say is, well, is that all the water? Is the right amount of water flowing through the pipe? The Foureyes and the CRM problem and the DMA, it's more on the CRM side in automotive, is that there's all sorts of missing data and little gotchas where you're like, if you're not watching it carefully, you don't realize it because you're like, I'm getting some data here. I'm getting some data. So for example, like we'll see a system where it's like, oh, well, we don't send you any data on closed leads. And you're like, well, we close out our leads. If Jeff filled out a lead a month ago and I closed it out, that doesn't mean Jeff doesn't exist to my dealership. Like, so now you're building a system and it's got no memory of Jeff anymore. And you're like, wait, what's going on here? Why is this what? So there's all these little gotchas in there where they're like, we don't have the APIs yet to give you that data. We don't. And I do think that like dealers need to be equipped to, like working with us, we say like, this is what you're missing. This is what's missing here. Let's go talk. Let's go get this from them. And you got to bang on the doors sometimes. You got to bang on the doors a bit. And that's where I kind of have a mixed reputation in the industry, right? I annoy the CRMs a bit because it's like, we're going to bang on your door. This isn't your data to hoard. And the other trick too that's going on, in every industry right now, as private equity is freaking out about the SaaS apocalypse and different stuff, is that one of the ways, data erodes with value. The value of data erodes with time. So one of the ways that people say, oh, I'm giving you data, I'm doing everything, it's all your data, is they put a time gap on it. Well, I'm giving you it, but I'm going to give it to you 24 hours later. I'm going to give it to you nightly. Well, if I'm trying to build an application that right when Jeff goes pending finance, I can offer him a bunch of finance tools and a bunch of options, but the only way to get that information is nightly. Well, that application now is weird. That application just got limited because now he's pending finance, but I can't talk to him about it until the next day.
True.
And the CRM or DMS can come out and say, wow, we have a system that can talk to him instantly. You got to buy our system that can talk to him instantly, because they eroded the value of the data with time. So they said, hey, we gave it to that vendor. They have it. They're just not as good at it as we are. Well, no, they made it less valuable by putting a time delay on it, by not making it a live event stream that actually pushes that data right away. And there's a lot of that going on in the space right now.
I like how you call it less valuable. In that case, I'm thinking of a particular one who has a batch API for the nightly feed, or you can pay a lot more and get the real-time one. So,
yeah, because time is valuable, right? Yeah. This is like the stock market, right? Like being close to when the trades are happening, right? And closer. Same thing with automotive data. You want to know things as they happen. Right. Now, I do think that what is good about this all is it's allowing dealers to start to put pressure on the right parts of these of their providers. So I think that is good, and we're seeing that more and more with dealers where they're becoming aware of like, oh, whoa, this is not right, or whoa, you are charging my vendors a lot of money, and this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like this blew Jeff's mind a little while ago. I don't think he was thinking of it this way. But if you say you're spending $6,000 a month at your one store with your DMS, and you're paying for that software already, and then you've got 9 vendors, and each of those vendors is paying that same DMS $500 a month.
Yeah.
All of that cost is going right back to Jeff. So now Jeff is actually spending closer to $11,000 a month on his DMS. And not 6 like he thought he was on the statement.
Yeah, and like I use the MailChimp. I'll do a similar example. I use the MailChimp example all the time. Like dealers will pay like $1,500, $2,500 a month. Everything in automotive is $2,500 a month. $2,500 a month to send out like a few email blasts, right? And it's like, well, I'm looking at the cost of MailChimp, and a lot of that's almost under a free account. Maybe it's like $49 a month at the group level for the group, but you have access and connectivity problem. You can't get your data from your CRM and your DMS into that platform, and then you can't circle the loop to bring it back, right? So, they opened the email, they read the email, they did something, and I want to write it back to the CRM. That's what our data platform is designed to do, is allow you to close those loops. So we can start to say, look, you don't no longer do you need to be spending $2,500 a month per store to send out email campaigns. We can connect this all to a MailChimp account, which, by the way, MailChimp is a better product than it's a more advanced product than what was being used before. Send it out. Oh, the problem is it's not writing back to the CRM. Okay. Use the API and connectors to then write that back to the CRM. So as the note gets sent, it writes back to the CRM, and all of that. It closes the loop on that. It's access and connectivity. I joke that. Do you guys remember? You guys remember Charles in Charge? Remember Charles?
Yeah.
There was a scene, and it just like hit me perfectly at the perfect time in life, where I was like probably like 14 years old. And it was like a scene in Charles in Charge, and I think it was like it was either Buddy, the friend, or the kid, made a point to Charles where he's like, everything you do in life, you do for women. Charles is like, no, I don't. That's not true. And he starts going through his day, and he's like, what do you do when you wake up? I brush my teeth. Why do you brush your teeth? To have nice breath and look good, and have your teeth look good for. He goes on this whole rampage about everything he does for women. He's able to tie everything he does back to women. and it just hit me at the perfect time in life where it just like made perfect sense to like my 14-year-old brain. And but I love the idea of just undressing a problem down to that, like and in automotive, software is about two things. It always is. Technology has always been driven by two things, which is access and connectivity, right? So like when computers first came out, access meant like, oh, I can see it on the screen. Then access meant I could download it. Access meant I could print it. We didn't have good connectivity yet. With AI, if it assumes you have access, and connectivity is amazing with all of these tools that sit outside of automotive, not in automotive. So where automotive is incredibly held back right now is we have to solve the access and connectivity problem. Because if we solve those two things, those are the two things where it's like, it's been a problem hiding in plain sight. We talk about it as far as like data silos. We talk about it in ways and all these terms. But at the end of the day, it's like access just a few years ago, even in our reporting, access meant download into Excel, right? That was what access meant. Well, now access means MCP layer, good, clean MCP layer, organized data. Access connectivity means I can pull in and connect to all of these systems easily. So what we're looking at is going, okay, we're not going to fix the DMSs and CRMs of the world. We're just going to set up piping and move all that data into a system that has much more access and connectivity. And on top of that, then it sort of unleashes the thing. But I think that like it is the Charles in Charge example where it's like, look, at the end of the day, everything we're doing is about access and connectivity. You don't solve those, you don't pass go. You can't get there from here.
Then you're also applying some standardization on top of it too. And going back, God, I can't remember when we did this, but we have a shared client, and actually a couple. And I remember the first time our support team came to me, I was like, hey, we need to start feeding all this data into Foureyes. And my first thought was, oh man, that's work that I don't need my engineering team to get off track doing or whatever. That was my first thought. And then it was a mandate. And so we had to do it. And once we got in there and did it and then saw the effects of it, it's like, oh, that was really valuable. That was worth doing. And I do wish that more dealers were utilizing you all for this kind of stuff, because it makes a lot of sense bringing the vendors together and making sure the customer is getting a better experience. So
well, and what you're talking about is consent, is what we did, and our roadmap is really exciting on the consent front. What we started with is just said, okay, when somebody says opt out, you have 9 vendors talking to the consumer. When someone says opt out, let's make sure we tell the other 9 vendors.
Yeah,
like that's it. It's just a simple, like just let them know. And my point is like I don't really want to be the cops. I'm not trying to be the police here. Like we have an internal thing. We're not trying to editorialize. We're just saying there's a piping problem. Someone said opt out. That information wasn't making it anywhere else but that person. And okay, let's solve that problem. Let's. And so now someone says opt out. We broadcast it. It comes back to you. And we don't even tell you that you can't talk to the person. We just tell you, hey, look, they opted out of transactional text marketing. Yeah. Do what you're going to do. Be you.
But now we don't have to send a wasted message and get ourselves in the spam tank with other customers.
Oh yeah. And that is like I don't know if you're for what you're doing, but like the new frontier that everybody's fighting with now is just getting messages through. Right. Like, so, what was happening, email was the golden era, the golden thing for years. And then all of a sudden filters and spam blockers and all of the stuff came into the play, and it became hard to get, good emails in front of customers. Customers no longer like everyone in general, email is less effective as a marketing tool today. It still has some effect. It's still effective. I mean, it's like direct mail is still effective. Like there's still it still has a purpose. But everyone's starting going, oh, text messaging is so powerful. Text messaging. Well, look what's happening with text messaging now. Do you guys have on your phone? Do you have like the filters on your text? So like
you have
now,
to.
Yeah, you have to.
I get more advertising messages than I do ones that I want to read now.
Yeah.
Sucks. But what's also happening now is the providers, the phone companies are getting sued. And so what they're doing is they're putting in place crazy rules and metrics to stop any software application that looks like it's doing something, or like what Craigslist did. They're doing a lot of like the ghost posts, like you think you sent the text, but it doesn't actually go anywhere. It didn't actually make it to the consumer. The provider stopped it. Like that, now the reality is every text messaging provider should be, get A2P set up, and like there are you can go off road. I mean, we're going in the weeds here. You can go off road on that a bit and go through some providers that don't require all that, but you're not going to get your text messages through.
Maybe the first couple of batches.
Yeah, you'll get it when you're testing it on yourself enough to feel like you're doing a great job. But no, I mean, like, like I look at compliance. Like, I don't love compliance stuff from Dave Steinberg likes to build for the future. I don't like compliance as like rules and regulations. I'm not really a rules and regulations guy. But
you don't like handcuffs?
I don't like handcuffs. But to me, like where compliance is interesting is in sending people the right message, in communicating the right way to them. Like if you're not able to track an opt out from and distribute that, then you're also not able to synchronize communication at all. Like, and if you're not able to synchronize communication, what you're saying to the consumer is just random, and it feels outdated now. It just does. When a consumer tells you information and you don't, and all of your future communication doesn't honor that feels, I mean, that's healthcare and automotive. Those are the only two industries.
And that's how you kill loyalty with your customer base.
You kill loyalty. And I had a epiphany. My dad was a pediatrician for 45 years in the poorest town he could find. And he's just like, I didn't even know cup holders existed. I mean, he always bought the Dodge Colt and then Dodge Omni. Dodge Omni was his car of choice for years, the 4-wheel drive the 4-door little. And but he bought every single car he bought from the same dealership in Woodburn, Oregon for his whole life. And he wanted to honor the local community, and he always wanted to do it. And then my dad came back, and he came back with a Subaru. I was like, Dad, we've got Subaru. What are you doing? And he's like, I stopped going to them. He's like, he goes, I never want to feel special. I'm not looking for VIP treatment anywhere in life. But they didn't even know that I had bought every car I've ever owned from them. Yeah. And he goes, they didn't even know that. And I just was like, okay, if they don't know that, I don't need to buy a car here. Like, they don't need my business. And I was like, Dad, that's just a data problem. That was just like, they looked you up in the CRM and they didn't look you up in the DMS. And that was just a day. That wasn't them being disrespectful. That was just
average consumer doesn't know that.
Yeah. But it was interesting to see my dad, who's very humble and doesn't ever want to be treated special in any way, shape, or form, have that reaction to like, I don't want to buy from here anymore. Like they don't value my business. Yeah. And I think like, you look at like the airlines, so much of what the airlines do, and they're doing, sometimes they do it really well, is kind of making you feel special, even though you're not, right? Like I'm on Alaska.
They get you to get their credit card that way.
Yeah, I get a little piece of chocolate, and it's like, oh, Dave, thank you for being a great customer, right? It's like those small things count, right? Like every great movie is 2 great scenes, no bad scenes. So like,
hold on, say that one more time. It's 2 great scenes, no what?
No bad scenes.
Oh, okay.
So if you look at your customer experience and you go, okay, what are my 2 great scenes that I want to have? Where we're going to have these surprise and delight. We only need 2 of them. And what are my bad scenes that I don't need to make them great. I just need to make them not bad. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like, it's a good thought exercise. Like there's a great exercise to do that I encourage people to do, which is just you map out like your customer experience. You can map out customer experience in sales. You can map it out in service. Like, what are bad scenes? Like, I'm going into the archives here, but like, had this experience years ago that was eye opening, which was I was at NADA, and I think it was. Do you know? I'll reference him. I like him. I haven't talked to him in years. Chuck Urban. Do you know Chuck Urban?
That name rings a bell.
Familiar.
He comes over. He sees me. He's like, "Oh, Dave, come over here." I think it was Chuck Urban. Comes over. He's like, "Come over here." He's like, "I gotta introduce you to this guy." And he introduced me to a dealer, and he's like, "This guy saved my service department." And I was like, "Oh shit, he's got the wrong guy. We're in sales. Dude. We don't do much in service department." He's like, "You got to buy this guy's technology. It's great. He saved my service department." And I'm like, I'm just trying to exit the conversation gracefully. Like, he's got the wrong guy. He thinks I'm someone else. But I can't get out of it. And finally I look and I'm like, "Dude, I think you have the wrong guy. I don't do anything for your service department. Like, how did I save your service department?" He goes, "No, you do, because you record how much time people are on hold on a call," which was a question we've always known was a problem in the service department. And he goes, "But we never knew how to fix it. We couldn't measure it. We didn't know what it was. And when you started measuring that, we were able to reduce it. It was like 3 minutes, and we reduced it to like under 30 seconds. And I go, "Okay, but how did that save your service department?" And he goes, "Well, a few weeks later," he goes, we had made this initiative. We did it. We've kind of fixed it up. A few weeks later, service managers are like, "There is something different in the water here. The service line has been so pleasant." And what they realized was, when they were putting people on hold for 3 minutes, and they were putting them on hold and they were spinning them around in a phone tree, they were still coming in for service, but they had a different approach. They had a different affect to the dealership.
So true.
They were annoyed. They were in mind. Now they're in line. Now they're waiting again, and they're annoyed. And they just realized, when they just handled them better, and then they came into line, they were like, it was like they said they're like, "There's something different in the water." And that, to me, is that two great scenes, no bad scenes. It's like, oh, you had a bad scene on the 3 minutes hold, so the whole movie's bad. You don't have a good movie. You don't have a great movie anymore. You had a bad scene there. You just got to make it not bad, right? Like, that's the concept there.
I think it was Tom White. That was years ago. We were just coming up with catchy slogans, and he had come up with one. I don't think he ever used it though, but it was something about for his dealership, and ironically, I think it was a Subaru dealership, and he was like, "I'm gonna just start saying, come to ABC, Subaru, whatever, where car buying doesn't have to suck."
Yeah, right.
It's sort of like your scenes thing. Just don't make it suck. Why does it always have to suck? Just don't make it suck. The expectations are already low enough.
When it's I've said this a lot, and like, I have dealers who when I take it the next step, we'll kind of argue about the next step here. But when we first started, we set up our phone tracking. We were building our phone tracking, so we can see with our phone tracking exactly what page they were on and everything the user's done on a website. We actually have the patent on connecting the website visitor to the phone call. So in the beginning, when we were building this, I was listening to thousands of calls and just listening and watching. I could see exactly what the user was on the website. And what shocked me was how many times users call and they're ask a question that they're staring at the answer to. I can see what they're looking at on the website. So they're staring at the answer. So they're calling up and they're going, "Hey, I want to know about this stock number." And they're going through the rigmarole. The dealer's struggling always to find the car and get on navigate the website and do it all. And okay, what are you calling about? I'm calling about this stock number. What's the price of that? Well, I can see exactly what page you're on. They're staring at the VDP. They're staring at and it's got a price on there. So they're staring at the price and they're asking, "What's the price on there?" And the amount of times that was happening was incredible. And, I have my hypothesis, right? So that was just the data. We just could see they were calling, they were looking at the price, but they were calling and asking for the price. This is where dealers argue with me. My hypothesis is that they're scared of the car buying process. They're a little nervous about what it's like to do. They're nervous they're not going to be treated well. They're nervous they're going to be run through a rigmarole. So they're testing you. And the other thing I've learned is, and I encourage you guys to do this too, is every time somebody ever buys a car, I always ask them the question. Since I started working in automotive, I always ask them the question, did you get a good deal? And every single person, except for the people who just want like a very specific, like something very specific, and like, look, I wanted this, I just needed it, it was the only one I found, so no, not really, but I wanted it. Except for those people, every single person says yes. So there's two things going on. So people are calling to say, what's the price, even though they're looking at the information. Yet when they're buying, they're always believing they got a good deal. So all they're trying to do, my hypothesis is all they're trying to do is see, is this person going to take care of me? So to your point on like the car buying doesn't suck. Like, I think there's really, like, this is where dealers hate what I say, but like, what's the price? Like the price on the web. So repeat the information. Price on the website is this. But if you're looking to buy a car and you want to come in and you want to go through it, I'm sure I can help get you a lower price. Just come on in and let's figure this out. Like, just like be super direct, repeat the information that they're looking at. Because like we hear on those calls, we'll hear the dealer go, oh, the price. Oh, well, it depends on what rebates and incentives you have. Oh, it depends on this. And you can just hear the customer just receding into the distance. Like, just like, I'm gone, dude. I'm gone.
Your presence is your leverage.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I think
Alex,
like,
oh yeah.
But it's a crazy time. I mean, it's an exciting time. Again, the dealers are held back because you can't get the access and connectivity. Jeff, you're a perfect example of that. Like, you're like, Perplexity is awesome. What the hell? How do I get from my systems to Perplexity? And that's where we've spent over $15 million in like the piping and organization infrastructure to say, no. Let's set this up so that this can work for you.
David, I might have one for you to work on. You were talking about dealers auditing themselves and being able to understand their process better and things of that nature. And it's really easy for a dealer to sit back and say, well, on the floor or in the service drive or whatever, this is our process, because they live it and see it with their own eyes all the time. Where they have a tendency to drop the ball is in understanding what communications are outgoing to their customers. In particular, I'll give you one example that I see over and over again. Actually, I'll give you two. But the one that's probably the most horrendous is a process or a workflow that's built into the CRM for orphan customers. So they build a template that says, hey, I'm your new salesperson. All right. And in an industry where over 63% of the employees turn over annually, you're sending that email pretty often. And every time the customer receives it, it's like, what's going on over there? Why do they keep burning through employees so quickly?
Used to get those.
Yep. So that's one. The other one's the birthday one. I think like dealers are the only ones who send a birthday email.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And it's the most generic thing. And it's almost insulting when you receive it. Yeah. Because it's like, I come from a dealership group family, and I've bought a lot of cars from my family over the years, and I still get the same birthday email.
Oh yeah.
From all the different stores, and it says the exact same thing, and it's like, yep, this form letter is getting old.
You know what I'll tell you, I'll tell this to anybody. This is like, this was one of the things we did recently that was like so interesting. We should put some more like blogs and analysis on this. So we measure every salesperson's close rate, but we measure their close rate of what's their 0 to 3 days, 4 to 7, 8 to 14, and 14 to 15 to 30, like by bucket, right? So like, they're closing this, 11% of their leads are closing 0 to 3 days. And then you see the fall down. Everybody has huge fall down after 3 days. But in the, thousands and thousands of salespeople we measure, there's a handful that don't have that fall down, where they're like, they're closing 11% days 0 to 3, 8% days 4 to 7, 6%, and you're like, what is this person doing? So we started calling them saying, what are you doing differently? Like your close rate over time is really different. Like you're closing way more leads day 4 to 7 and 8 to 14 than any of your other peers. What are you doing differently? The funny thing was the number one answer by far was, I don't know. I'm doing the same thing the other guys are doing. So we started looking at it more. And here was what came from it is we said, okay, tell me, are you organized? Do you consider yourself organized? They almost all considered themselves really organized. Do you have a good memory? Oh yeah. And the people that didn't have a good memory had like a notepad and they were really good at like writing notes. We started then listening to their calls, their follow-up calls. And their follow-up calls, they were doing the same follow-up calls. This is why they would say, I don't know. They were doing the same follow-up calls that the guy sitting next to them was doing. But they were doing something just slightly different, and it was producing incredible, like way higher results, is they were remembering the person's situation, right? So when someone's buying a car, there's a situation, right? Why are they buying it? My daughter's turned 16 and now we need another car because she's driving my car all the time. I crashed my car. I did this. What's your financial consideration? What's all that information? The difference in their phone calls at day 4 plus older versus the phone calls of the guy sitting next to them was they were referencing the situation in their stuff where the guy sitting next to him, I don't do a ton of sales of our products. Our sales team does, but I will have a great meeting with someone and then I'll meet with them a week later and I like don't remember what I even like showed them or went over and I'm like, but so like they were by remembering the situation and tying it back to them, that's what was equaling the high closer. They were saying, hey, I know your daughter has, where the other guy sitting next is like, hey, you're interested in a Jeep Wrangler. I got a lead from you 4 days ago. And they're like, dude, I've already moved on from that piece of information. So that little piece of intel has been a huge piece of like what we're like, again, I'll show you, I'll show you a little bit of our roadmap. Like, so now what we're doing is, in all of the data we're bringing in, and the call data and the website data and the activity and the CRM is like extracting the situation. Because if you extract the situation of the customer and you reference the situation, we know for a fact that is a much higher close rate increase than just telling them happy birthday, look, I'm here, right? Like that's the old way of like, remember me, I'm still around. Like happy birthday is not because you wishing them a happy birthday. It's because you're trying to tell them you're still around. The best way to tell them you're still around is remembering their deal, right? And like with automotive, it's a long-term sales cycle. So you have great intel on like, well, 3 years later, okay, if it's 3 years, 4 years, they're ready. But do you remember the information? You remember the information, you impress them. It's like Oz the Mentalist, right? Like everyone's always amazed with Oz the Mentalist because it looks like a magic trick. It's like remember shit like that, and our core data systems are not set up well for us to remember stuff.
No,
No,
you got to dig hard.
I mean, we have covered some ground today. I always like my DealerRefresh vibe is like, you guys just go in and just like, okay, what do you guys want to talk about? Let's go. Which Matt, my marketing guy, always gets nervous about, but we've covered some ground. I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
I mean, I think correct me if I'm wrong. There's like two things that stuck out for me. And I guess you can't correct me if I'm wrong with that, but I'm trying to say if there's two things that stuck out for me that I hope that people take away. And if you want to add to it or correct that, that'd be great. So first and foremost, like you're enabling, you mentioned sales enablement, but it's just data enablement all over. And
yeah,
it's such a great thing to take advantage of as a dealer today because you've connected all these various technologies that the dealer is paying for already and probably frustrated that they can't get the data out to do what they want to do with it. And you're allowing that. And I think you're unique in that regard. And so, even more so than a CDP, I feel like what Foureyes is doing is a bit more special. And
yeah, it's hard because the CDP, like, we just have audiences and all that stuff. And so you get like put in the CDP category and I get it. But like the CDP just was an acronym. Automotive loves an acronym. And it was just an acronym to describe a problem, but the CDPs don't actually solve the problem. Like what automotive needs is data platform, data organization, data enablement, to use your words, right? That's the missing piece, because again, like all of everything we're doing needs access and connectivity. We had zero. We have really poor access and connectivity. That's why Jeff is sitting here with perplexity and can't connect those two things. So it's like, but in solving that problem, we it looks and feels like a CDP, but it's different. I mean, a data platform is a different beast. We're concerned. Our concern is how do we give you access and connectivity, and access and connectivity. The landscape, it is changing. The rules of access and connectivity. It's like an elevator going up really, really fast. It's awesome. It's like, oh my gosh, I mean, the stuff like we're doing, the how much I use our own MCP layer on top of our Snowflake. I mean, so it was down recently. I don't know if you guys saw, there, like Anthropic had a Snowflake. You're not in the Anthropic Snowflake world. They had an Anthropic Snowflake bug where it was down for like 4 days. Dude, I was like unproductive. I couldn't get my work done. I'm like, I'm using the hell out of our own connector every single day now. And I didn't realize how fast I became dependent on that. It was crazy, because then I look at how many dealers, and I tell them we can give you an MCP layer to all your connector where you can chat and AI about your data, and they're like, what? I can't get there from here.
So that's definitely a ginormous value in itself and worth looking at Foureyes for alone. But I would say the second thing is the consent component. And like I was saying earlier, I'm a vendor, and I didn't appreciate having to do the work or being forced to do the work, because the way it was presented to us was like, you have to get on board or we're gonna cancel your product. And it was like, oh, well, that's not the best way to attract the fly.
It's not.
Bring the honey. We'll play nicer.
Yeah, that's been hard. That's definitely been hard for us as a company. Like we definitely have some vendors that are pissed off at us because of.
Yeah, it didn't come from you guys.
No, I know, but we're involved, right? So like, and basically the problem has been that vendors, you have your roadmap, like you said, you have nobody has free dev resources. No matter what we're doing, no one's like, oh, I just got devs.
Nobody's sitting here waiting for the phone to ring and say, build this for me, please, because I can't come up with anything on my own. Yeah.
So anytime someone tells someone, the challenge was the dealers are getting sued, and they're like freaking out about it, and the dealer groups can't keep the dealers from signing up for stuff that communicates with their customer, because everybody wants to communicate, because it's so easy to build communication tools now. So like, it's challenging for that. So like, I feel bad, because we definitely have had, and we've had some stuff where like, because we now have, I think over 180 vendors in our system, like who are now sending data in, and but like some vendors will call us and be like, I got this note, it doesn't even make sense for me. And we're like, no, it doesn't make sense. You're not doing stuff that requires you to log consent or do any of that stuff. It's fine. Keep going. But otherwise nobody was going to do the work. You would, I mean, I know you have the greatest of intentions of the world, but you have the same problem we all have, which is limited dev resources.
Correct. Yep. Limited time. We all have that, right? Limited
time. And my point on consent, because where I think people saw what we were doing with consent as like its own thing, which it is in a way, but I'm like, you can't be a data platform, because because automotive didn't have data enablement, data platforms, we've set up a system where we've allowed all this satellite communication to happen on our behalf without any central repository of all that data. And that's just bad data management. Like, and it's not the fault of any one vendor, other than that it happened because all the data plumbers left automotive. And there was no data plumbing in automotive, where people were trying to bring everything together. And so it feels very strange in automotive. It's Amish country. We're coming into Amish country with a tractor, and people are like, what's going on? We don't need that tractor. And it's like, well, no, you do. If you're gonna be modern, yeah, you gotta upgrade this system. So but the consent has allowed us to give the dealer much more control over messaging without tripping over their feet. I mean, you know it
I
from
get it now.
from doing
Yeah.
messaging, right? Like, so and this is the dirty secret that all of us vendors who do messaging have. We do messaging and we're like holding our breath the whole time because we don't have the right consent. We know it. We have what we call assumed consent. We're like, okay, we got the lead
they signed
in.
the Privacy Act statement, Dave. What are you talking about?
It's
perfectly good.
But like, you know, like we go, okay, they got the lead from Car Gurus. I'm going to assume that lead, they gave them consent. But what you don't know is that the user said stop 2 hours ago, and you have no idea. And you know, then and just it's silly. I mean, I hate that there are these legal trolls that are doing it. And there's 2 guys out of Florida that are fucking the worst people in the world, but who are like suing dealers left and right. But dealers are dealing with it.
Well, David, if a dealer is interested, and I think they should be, at looking at Foureyes, should we just send them straight to foureyes.com, or is it foureyes.io?
Foureyes.io. Foureyes.com is like a
Foureyes.io.
class.
Yep.
Or
Sorry.
like
Don't. Foureyes.io. Get it.
Yeah. Foureyes.io. But also, like, I mean, I'm pretty available. I'm just David at Foureyes.io too. So happy to help anybody. And look, I think if anyone has listened to this whole conversation and is like still here, like, dude, email me and I'll hook you up. Like, just for we've talked longer than we normally talk. I feel like we've covered some ground. So
I just threw your information over to our dealer owner.
Oh, nice, wonderful. Yeah,
I know they're looking for some different solutions. I'm not exactly sure where they're at with it, but listening to some of the pain points and such, I'm like, you know what? I usually try not to step on the toes, just sort of stay out of it. But yeah, it would make a lot of sense.
The biggest thing too is, and we've messed up with some accounts in the last little bit, because what's happened is everybody's tried to build their own like sort of data warehouse connectivity layer, and so a little bit I've tripped over my own feet, because we've had some dealer clients where it's like, okay, you have this system, we'll build on top of your system to not waste the work that you've done, and it doesn't work because their system is the pipes are too like broken. And we've kind of learned like, hey, look, we've set this up. We've now set this up thousands and thousands of times this way. Like, here's what we can do. Let's get this going. But we have some ways we can do it where we can show our schematic and our system working, and you can keep yours running, and that way get everyone comfortable. Because a lot of it's like getting people comfortable with the new world. But once, you know, the reason that plumbing people don't really invest in plumbing makes no money when you're like for the dealership, right? When you're just doing data plumbing work, you're not helping the dealer sell more cars. You're not doing anything. You're just trying to get access to the data. So like, it's by enabling them to build activation tools, to build visualizations, to build on top of it. That's where the dealer gets the value from the data. And so, but again, we call it collect and connect hell. Jeff, you guys are just stuck in collect and connect hell right now.
Yep.
Like I can feel it and emotionally.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Guys, this was fun. I thank you guys so much for your time.
It's fun learning more about Foureyes.
Yeah, so for sure.
Y'all are on a roll.
Well, we're just getting started.